Hello, my name is Neil Arwin Mercado, reporter for INQUIRER.net. It is usually around this time of the year, March, April, May, when a lot of us go out of town with our families, go to the beach, be it foreign or local tourists. A lot of people visit the Philippines to visit our beautiful beaches across the country. But with the current coronavirus pandemic, we instead see ourselves inside our homes due to the limited movement brought by the quarantine that is currently in place. No wonder the tourism sector took a hit with this pandemic. So joining us here today are Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo-Puyat and Undersecretary Art Boncato. Good afternoon po. How are you, Secretary and Undersecretary?
Um, well, we're of course we're sad because the tourism, as you said, is one of the hardest hit during this
Mhm.
pandemic. But we're also quite busy because there are so many things to do. Even if the tourism industry has been hit, just to put things
Mhm.
into perspective,
Mhm.
tourism contributes 12.7% of the gross domestic product. We are 13% of total employment. We employ 5.4 million people.
Mhm.
And of course, with what is happening, you can imagine how many people are affected. January, we had an 8.8% growth from the
Mhm.
previous, from January 2020, from compared to 2019. We still
Mhm.
had an 8.8% growth of tourist arrivals. Last Feb, because of the travel ban, we already had a 45% decrease. And
Mhm.
last March, we started the ECQ. Was that March 14, 15? We started March, mid-March, the ECQ. So we already had a 70% decrease in
Mhm.
tourist arrivals. And obviously April, it's already zero.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you can
Secretary,
imagine how hard the tourism industry has been
mhm.
hit.
When this whole pandemic started, were you expecting that the effect of this pandemic sa tourism industry would be this huge?
I actually didn't expect it to be that it would not only affect our country but the whole world.
Mhm.
Every country in the world has its own travel restrictions.
Mhm.
So let's say even if the Philippines allows people, foreigners to come in or we can travel out, hindi rin pwede because
Mhm.
each country has their own travel restrictions. In fact, as we speak today, a lot of the other countries I read in the news already extended their own ban. It's never happened in our tourism sector that even let's say if we lift our travel restrictions now, we can't travel because the whole world has closed its borders.
Because from my understanding, even before we implemented restriction in movement in travel, other countries have, or some countries have already implemented their own measures.
We were actually one of the first to impose an ECQ
Mhm.
because based on what the DOH presented to us, we already knew that if we didn't have an ECQ, that our hospitals would be overwhelmed. So
Mhm.
we were one of the first to impose an ECQ, and it's good because at least our hospitals right now it's still overwhelmed, but now we're able to build a lot of mega quarantine centers.
Mhm.
So to be able to put the people there. And because of the ECQ, we have now more recoveries
Mhm.
than a lot of people are infected, but there are a lot of recoveries also. Now the
Mhm.
hotel industry, people are asking, paano yan? Zero na ang Department of Tourism. Actually, ang maganda, when we started the ECQ, the hotels have played a very, very important role.
Mhm.
Ang hotel industry, kami yung nagbibigay ng kwarto sa mga health workers, sa
Mhm.
BPOs, at sa ating mga OFWs. So kasi eksakto lang siya, meron siyang may kama na at may sariling banyo. It's perfect also as a quarantine facility. And then the first 2 weeks of the ECQ, the Department of Tourism had sweeper flights for our foreigners
Mhm.
because diba all domestic flights were canceled. So marami, we have 7,641 islands na
Mhm.
stranded ang ating mga foreign tourists, and we made sure that they were able to get out of the islands. We
Mhm.
organized all the sweeper flights hanggang makarating sila sa NAIA at makaalis sila sa kanilang, para makauwi sila sa kanilang bansa. We also last week organized domestic sweeper flights, yung mga ating stranded domestic tourists. So, thank God, nakauwi na rin sila sa NCR. But yung mga ibang pauwi pa sa, let's say, Visayas and Mindanao, since they're also naka-ECQ, we are still planning it para makauwi sila. Pero at least, like what I said, the Department of Tourism has never been busy as ever because yung ginagawa nga namin, not only for the providing the rooms, but we've been organizing all the sweeper flights for our stranded foreigners and domestic tourists.
I'm personally curious, Secretary. You mentioned that merong mga hotels that were used as quarantine facilities, right, Secretary? And then, ano po yung, meron ba tayong, how do you say this? Meron ba tayong benefits na ibibigay sa kanila after this pandemic is over? Ano yung naging deal natin with them? Because we can assume that these are private establishments.
Some hotels are actually, we're very grateful to them because they offered their rooms for free, especially for the health workers. There's this one, Oriental Hotel in Legazpi. He offered all his rooms for free. Kahit sino, quarantine, OFWs, health workers. So marami tayong ganon. With regard to the OFWs, ang nagbabayad ng hotel rooms are either the manning agencies or OWA. So ang hotel rooms ay nakakakuha naman ang ating yung sa private sector ng kahit na konti for them to be able to lend their hotel, for them to be able to give their hotel rooms. Kaya nagpapasalamat kami sa hotel industry kasi maraming ayaw magbukas ng hotel nila. Pero marami naman, I think USEC Art in NCR alone, we've opened about 30,000.
Yes, about mga 20,580 rooms in NCR. But including those outside of NCR, nasa 30,000 po, USEC.
Naka 30,000 rooms na tayo. These are for the health workers, BPOs, bank employees. Kasi di ba walang public transport, so within walking distance. And for our OFWs, yun ang pinaka-importante. When it came to the OFWs, yun chinek muna ng Bureau of Quarantine kung pwede siya talaga for our OFWs.
So Secretary...
Right now, can I correct? We have given total rooms occupied by sector. We have already provided 37,200 rooms in NCR alone.
So, Secretary, the House Committee on Tourism held a meeting or a hearing last week, and there you mentioned that, as you said in this interview, tourism sector is probably the hardest hit economic sector in this crisis. You also mentioned the effects, the 40.2% decrease in the number of foreign arrivals, the loss in revenue. Secretary, we can talk about these numbers, but the public's concern is in simplest term, should they be worried or not?
Right now, what the government is doing, well, for example, in the DOT, under our mandate, we've been helping the hotels, number one. Normally, for you to do business, you need to be accredited by the DOT. Nilibre na namin siya. So, free accreditation. And then with regard to, let's say, participation fee, kasi normally for them to market their hotels, DOT kasi asks for a participation fee. That will probably per tour operator or hotel, in a year they would probably be spending, well, that's a big actually amount. I won't mention, but we already no more. We waived already all participation fee for this year and next year. We have that video. Actually, the video that we made now, it's called Stay Home, Dream, and Wake Up in the Philippines. That was actually an old video that we just pinagtagpi na lang namin. So that parang still, so actually no cost talaga to government. That's what our attachés are showing abroad because para lang, since travel practically, there's nobody traveling internationally abroad. But then we found out that our tourists, especially in Korea, in Japan, Australia, in the UK, they still want to come to the Philippines. So parang for them to, it's more of a parang stay home now, dream, and wake up in the Philippines. So we're top of mind. We're still top of mind. And thank God, at least no cost, halos no cost to government. And then we've been having online learning series. Usually, meron yung face-to-face, di ba, USEC Art. USEC Art sector is in charge of that. Face-to-face, they have a 3-day seminar and then they get a certificate. Those are very important. Ngayon, it's online already. And then if they do the 3-day online learning series, they get a certificate. These are very good kasi it's baka Filipino values, yung how to handle the hotel or the tourism industry during ECQ. And ito, hindi nasasayang ang oras nila because when they attend this online learning series, they get a certificate after. So, and then, of course, ang problema is, for example, yung wage. Di ba, syempre, dahil walang pagkukunan, walang business, we are very, very grateful to the Department of Finance. We have been asking the Department of Finance help kasi hindi yun mandate nga ng DOT, but we've been working with the Department of Finance and they had this wage subsidy scheme. And then as of yesterday, a total of 155,672 employees from tourism-related enterprises have received their wage subsidy. So masaya kami doon. At least that's 8,000 per worker. Tapos ito ay binibigay sa employers. That's with cooperation with the Department of Finance. So nagpapasalamat kami sa kanila.
Do we have any idea, Secretary? Because my next question is actually related to that. Because the tourism industry is not just about the tourism itself. It also covers the employment, yung mga umbrella, ano yan, may mga covered din na other sectors because mayroon ding employment under the tourism industry. You mentioned that mayroon over 1,000 enterprises ang nabigyan itong wage subsidy. Do we know?
670.
Do we know how many? Do we have any numbers as to how many workers ang covered nitong over 1,000 enterprises na nabigyan na nitong wage subsidy?
This is for 4,290 tourism-related enterprises, but this is running. This is not the only thing. It's still May 5. We will have updates every day kasi we continually follow up with the DOF, with the BIR, and the SSS for our tourism-related enterprises na makuha nila yung wage subsidy nila.
So now this is the question, Secretary, that a lot of people are actually asking. We sort of asked some of our colleagues, some of our friends, if there is one question that you would want to ask the Tourism Secretary, what would it be? And their question is, are we expecting any date as to when international or local travel can resume?
It's
or are we eyeing for a timeline, Secretary?
Actually, even if you check all the other countries, it's very until there is a vaccine, everything is very fluid. But what we can assure you is mauuna ang domestic tourism over foreign travel. Because domestic tourism, it's more when we are actually allowed already to travel. As we speak, the airlines already are drafting their safety protocols with regard to airline travel. Our hotels, accommodation, we are already drafting with them yung safety protocols. Kasi bago na ngayon parang for example, let's say sa airline, hindi na pwedeng magkakadikit. Baka one seat apart. Kasi dapat may social distancing. Lahat nakamask na. Tapos sa hotel na, ang care package mo na doon is everybody has to wear a mask, may hand sanitizer, and with social distancing. So the tourism industry now is getting ready for the new normal. Habang wala pang vaccine, we are going to be adjusting on what the new normal will be. Other countries have already been testing it. For example, in museums, let's say ang capacity ng museum is 100, pinapayagan lang nila 50. Pero online na yon, hindi na pwede yung punong-puno. Ang capacity mo would be at 50 already and with proper social distancing. But what I know is not only the Philippines but all over the world, we are all parang watching what the others are doing kasi this is a first time for the tourism industry. Imagine mo, tourism is something that we thrive on real life experiences, face to face. That's what tourism is all about. And now we have to adjust to the new normal. For example, in Intramuros, meron na kaming virtual tour. If you go to Intramuros, pwede kang umikot ng Intramuros, pero sa computer mo, virtual. Or you can look at the Museo de Intramuros, a computer. So the tourism industry will survive, but we will have to adjust to the new normal. And ang question is, kailan? We really don't know, but we are preparing for air, hotel, travel and tours, even MICE, and tourist vehicles. We have to have a new normal. And this new normal dapat accepted ng Department of Health. So ang importante ngayon would be safety and sanitation. Before, when you go traveling, tinitingnan mo muna na, ay, ang ganda-ganda ng beach, ay, ano, ang sasarap ng pagkain. Ngayon, ang uunahin ng turista is, how safe is it for me to travel?
Secretary, now, we already talked about the employment sector of the tourism industry. Now, I would like to talk about another sector in the tourism industry that is not really talked about a lot, but yung degradation, Secretary. Kasi we can assume that with the quarantine in place, with the lack of visitors ng ating mga tourist sites, tourist spots, there is a possibility na mag-degrade itong ating mga tourist attractions here in the Philippines. Have we received any reports na nagtatap na sa DOT na hello, medyo we need help po with maintaining this, with maintaining that?
Our tourist spots have never been so beautiful. We will show you the picture of Coronao, Boracay. Oh, wow. In El Nido nga, lahat ng jellyfish nandun na because it's so clean. It's never been so beautiful. But for example, our tourist spots like Luneta and Intramuros, that is under the Department of Tourism, meron pa rin kaming skeleton force na nagsasanitize continually pa rin kahit na walang bisita. Sinasanitize namin at nililinis namin. Pero when it comes to the tourist spots, it's never been so beautiful. In fact, I'm sure pag lumalabas ka ngayon, di ba, ang sarap ng simoy ng hangin. Picture of a person who took a picture from Pasig. Nakikita mo na ngayon yung Sierra Madre dahil walang air pollution. It's never been so beautiful right now.
So you're saying, Secretary?
Oo, actually parang nag-reset, no? USEC Art. Nag-reset ang parang
nationwide.
The silver lining that I see here is that nature has never been so happy.
Yes.
That's the only silver lining that I can see. And then maybe what we can do is we can maintain it. And then when we eventually open our domestic tourist spots, we keep in mind that. And then kasi syempre when we reopen, let's say Baguio, we still have to have social distancing. Hindi na pwede yung punong-puno eh. So USEC Arts sector is in charge of talking to all the LGUs.
Yes.
When we have the new normal, ang nakikita ko na yan kasi pag naka-GCQ na lahat, magla-land travel muna. So pupuntahan nila yan, La Union, Pampanga, Baguio, Baler, yung by land nila pwedeng puntahan. But USEC Arts sector is in charge of talking to all the LGUs how to maintain yung social distancing. Dapat lahat naka-mask pa rin kasi ayaw natin ng second wave.
Yes.
Yun. Ang maganda naman, like si Mayor Magalong, no, USEC Art is very, very cooperative. And I know...
I'm sorry. In fact, now, Sec, closed ang Baguio for tourists. He just made the recent announcement. So they're still preparing for the eventual opening, as you've said, Sec.
So even the LGUs now are more mindful. They will check na hindi masyadong maraming tao. But at the same time, so, hindi masayang yung na-quarantine natin kasi baka mag-second wave. So, lahat
So
ng
parang
health rules, gano'n.
the quarantine or in a way, as much as hindi naman natin minamaliit yung naging negative effects nitong quarantine, in a way, the quarantine bought us some time to help, especially the natural tourist spots to recover.
Even I was shocked because I've been to all these tourist spots and I've never seen it this beautiful.
So,
Even the
Secretary,
turtles now, maaga naglabas ngayon. Oo, because walang pollution, walang, iba pag may nagbabangka, may fuel, wala, it's all clean. Kasi even in the tourist spots now, bawal mag-swimming.
Yeah.
So lumalabas talaga. Ngayon lahat ng mga, yung mga sea turtles ngayon, naglalabasan sila ngayon. And parang, yun. So it's, so what we'll do is when we finally recover and we have domestic tourism, we will keep this in mind. Na to be responsible travelers pa rin, and to maintain kung anong ano natin with ECQ and the new normal with wearing masks, sanitation, and social distancing.
Secretary, just a couple more questions. We were talking about, you already actually discussed a lot of the measures that are in place right now in response to the pandemic. You also already talked about some of the recovery measures that we are doing. Do we have other measures, Secretary, when it comes to, if people are asking, Secretary, how can we recover from this? Do we have other additional measures aside from the new normal and all that?
Aside from the bill that is being discussed by, I think it's a bill sponsored by Congresswoman Stella Kimbo,
yes,
Congresswoman Sharon Garin, and Congressman Joey Salceda. We have been, we're talking to Land Bank. They have a special facility, a window for those affected by COVID. So after this meeting, our stakeholders will be talking to Land Bank kasi meron silang 10 billion na binigay for our COVID, of course the tourism, everybody's affected. So yun, we're also talking to DBP kung anong magkano maa-allot nila. So Land Bank has already allotted 10 billion for COVID for the smaller stakeholders. We're talking also to DBP, and of course with the bill, ang hinihingi namin is zero interest rate. So that's one of it. More marketing promotion, zero interest rate. What else? Better, for example, not only zero interest rate, mas mahaba ang payment, may grace period, etc. Para kasi matatagalan, nakakaawa talaga yung stakeholders natin para makaahon sila. And of course, what we're asking for, since sa GCQ, hindi pa kasama ang tourism, hinihingi namin ma-extend ang grace period namin na wag muna magbayad ng rentals. Wala naman mababayad Since tourism is not included, ang hinihingi nga namin is yung waiver, yung grace period ma-extend kasi we are not allowed to operate under the GCQ.
I think also yung request for more wage subsidy because of the extension, that's part of the effort of what the DOT is doing. Continuing sourcing out of possible support for our employees.
Oh, can I tell you, because of the Bayanihan law, practically our whole Kiasa fund was given already to the national government. Our branding budget, about 800 million was already given to the national government for COVID. Because of course before hindi namin magamit for COVID because nasa batas, we could only use it for tourism related enterprises. Because of the Bayanihan law, nabigay na namin lahat sa national government for use of COVID, and a part of this was used for the wage subsidy program. So at least nakabalik sa ating mga tourism stakeholders.
So I guess final Secretary, final message to Filipinos who are so excited to go out of their homes and to finally to explore especially again nga, usually the summer season talaga, ito yung mga time na people go out, but we encourage everyone, even us here in the Inquirer, to stay home. But Secretary, any message sa Filipinos and even foreign tourists who really want who are so excited to go out there and explore the Philippines, and also maybe remind them of what you were talking earlier about the new normal in the tourism sector?
Yeah. Well, again, the tourism industry is one of the, or not the hardest hit during this pandemic. Even before the ECQ, tinamaan na ang tourism industry. But yet, we have hope right now. We're encouraging everybody right now for the ECQ, stay home. Post all your travel pictures from before. Keep posting how beautiful the country is. Nakikita ko nga sa social media, a lot of people have been posting their travel pictures around the country. Keep posting yung mga nandun naman sa mga tourist spots natin. Keep posting on how your tourist spot looks now, how beautiful it is. And we in the Department of Tourism, we are fixing all the safety protocols. And finally, when pwede na, we want everybody to travel, first domestic, and eventually, when pwede nang wala ng travel restrictions abroad, they can travel, they can come here. And may I remind you that there are still a lot of stranded foreigners here. Why? Because they don't want to go home. They'd rather stay in the Philippines. So really, it's more fun in the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Secretary. Thank you. I know you're very busy, so we're so thankful that you granted us this interview. And you too, Sec Art, thank you so much for giving us your time. And keep safe, ko.
Thank you very much.
Keep safe.
Again, this is Neil Arwin Mercado, reporter for INQUIRER.net. Everyone, please stay safe and stay home.